welcome to our second episode of our Ranger Roundup. If you guys missed our first episode, which was What's All the Buzz About, we're going to be linking a URL down below that you guys can go check that out. My name is Rachel, if you guys are just checking in, and then
my name is Alyssa.
We're both rangers here at DeSoto National Memorial, and today we're going to be talking about Eureka.
Yeah, so Eureka is kind of ambiguous because we're not going to tell you exactly what our episode is about until we get to the hot topic. But we are going to talk about our activity that we had you all do at home. So if you did the activity beforehand, awesome. We hope you figured out kind of what we might be talking about today. And if you didn't get to the activity, we're going to go ahead and do the activity with you.
So what we have here is something that is a staple in Florida. It is going to be the Florida orange. And so when you think about it, where do you get your oranges at, Alyssa?
Exactly. So for this activity, we're tracing back where our orange came from. And usually when I get oranges, I really like those really big, juicy oranges. So I'll usually go to the store, pick some up, and then bring them home. So that's where I get my oranges.
I get mine from the store too, but when you think about it, where did those come from before the store?
That's a great question, Rachel. Because obviously the store doesn't just magically have oranges. They have to arrive there somehow. So usually your oranges are going to come to your store by truck or some other mode of transportation. And where are the trucks getting the oranges from? Because they can also be growing oranges too.
So truck. Normally when you think of an orange, you have to go back and look at a farm too. So there's a farm with like orchards of orange trees that will just have acres of trees on there, and then they collect them. But where does that tree even get the power to make an orange?
That's awesome. Yeah, so usually we can trace all of our food back to plants somehow. In this case, our orange tree. But oranges and other plants still need to make fruit and still need to survive in order to provide us with food. So one of the things that oranges, or flowers in particular, so all of our fruits need, are bees, like we talked about last time. But plants also need a lot of other things in order to survive. So we're going to be talking about those for our next 3 Ranger Roundup episodes. But the major one that we're talking about today, Rachel, do you know what we're talking about today?
So we're going to be talking about the sun.
Oh,
so what is the sun technically? So it's actually a dwarf star, and it's basically a hot ball of burning gas. So that's pretty crazy whenever you think about the sun.
Yeah. But if we didn't have it,
I know,
we wouldn't have our oranges.
Exactly, we wouldn't have any kinds of plants, and the earth wouldn't be completely frozen at that point, because it does retain, but it would become very difficult to live without the sun because all the plants do get that photosynthesis from the sun and get their energy and how to grow, and so including humans would probably die off pretty fast.
Yeah. So the sun's really important for us, and that's what we're going to be talking about today.
You can see from our diagram, we start off with the orange, and then we take it to the store, and then you see our little transportation truck, and then we have our little farm, and then you can see how the orange tree actually gets the energy from the sun, and then you can it's like a revolving door, it just is a cycle. That's where we get most of our stuff. So you guys can do that fun activity at home or at your dinner and kind of look at your dinner plate and be like, where does this food come from? So when we're thinking about the sun, we can go back into history and look at kind of the examples, back in time. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about today were kind of the two different societies back in the day. So when we're thinking about it, we're thinking about maybe like native people and then also European kind of people and how they interacted with the sun back then. So with native people, they were going to be more telling stories with oral kind of creations of stories of where the sun would have came from. And we actually have a fun activity for you guys to do at home revolving around a story that we had found doing research, and you guys get to do that at home. We gave you guys awesome little cutouts. You can color your animals and your suns and then put them on popsicle sticks and then interact with it while you guys are going to be doing that story.
Yeah. And some other things, Native Americans are talking about a lot of different things in stories. So not only are they talking about the sun, but they're trying to use the sun as a way to describe creation in a sense. So Native Americans are using a lot of storytelling to pass down their cultural heritage and some of their moral values as well as ways of life. So they have many different stories. We definitely recommend, if you like the Native American story that you get to hear in the activity that you do at home today, definitely recommend go checking out more Native American stories because they explain some of them the creation of different things like thunder and lightning or the sun. Or they tell you about some of the moral values of family and the different important things in Native society.
It's very interesting and awesome topic to talk about.
Yeah, definitely.
And then you have our Europeans and how they were interacting with the sun back then.
Yeah. So here at DeSoto National Memorial, we also talk about the 1539 expedition of Hernando de Soto to the southeast, what we know of as the United States today, and the impact he had over here. But how was he using the sun at the time, and how was the rest of Europe understanding of the sun at this time, and what was that like? So 1539 is kind of close to 1515, just a few years before a man named Nicholas Copernicus in 1515 developed his idea that the sun was the center of the universe and the earth rotates around the sun. And it was such a controversial topic and something that he felt that he needed to kind of be prepared for backlash from, and he didn't even publish a paper about how the earth might not be the center of the universe and how the sun might be the center of the universe instead until 1543. So he waited quite a long time before publishing that paper. So that kind of gives you an idea of people's viewpoints of the sun at that time. But we're also going to talk about how they used the sun at this time. So what I have right here in my hand is called an astrolabe. What an astrolabe does, it helps in navigation as well as being able to tell the time. So if you can look at this, see it a little bit up close, you'll see that there's a little pendulum hand that moves right here. And with that pendulum hand, you can hold this up to the sun and move it to get your degree. The sun is above the horizon, and that can tell you sometimes the time of day. But you can also go outside when the sun is at its highest point, get the degree that you need, and then also reference that with one of the stars in the sky that you're pretty familiar with. With most people, it's going to be the North Star, but there's tons of other constellations in the sky that people were also familiar with at that time. And so they would use that information, do some fancy math, and they would eventually be able to figure out their latitude. So their latitude is going to tell them how far north or how far south they are. So this was a pretty handy tool that they would use for a lot of navigation, especially when they're traveling by boat, going on everywhere on the sea. They need to figure out where they are, kind of. So this was a super helpful tool that they used at the time.
So we kind of already touched about the photosynthesis with plants and how basically that sun gives the plants that energy with carbon. So you have carbon dioxide plus water with that light energy equals that sugars that need plants to grow and also gives us our oxygen to breathe. So plants are actually very important to us, but they get that kind of energy that they need to transform that carbon with the water into that sugar and oxygen. So our sun is actually very important to us. And so like we touched about before, without the sun, we wouldn't have those plants would die off because they didn't have that photosynthesis to make that sugar to grow.
Yeah.
And we also are going to provide those resources with you too, so.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so you'll get to see how photosynthesis kind of works. And photosynthesis is awesome. It helps us have our food here today. But the sun does so much more than just help our plants grow. It also provides all the heat that we need to live. So we kind of touched on it before that if the sun went away, we'd end up getting pretty cold here on Earth. It would not be good for all of us. But we do have a sun, thankfully, and it does help us heat the Earth. So if you've looked at our Earth before, it's curved, so when the heat comes in from the sun, it's going to distribute the heat differently to different places. So the closer you are to the equator, so we're not too close to the equator, but we're not too far. The sun comes, heats up Florida, and we have summer basically all year long, which is really nice. But the farther north you go, the less sun you're going to have. So that's why they get more intense winters. That's why it's sometimes snowing there. And our sun is really important for how it heats the Earth. Also, the sun, when it heats the Earth, it's heating the air all around us. And when that air is heated up, it causes all the weather that we see. So the sun's really important for providing us with the weather and different climates that we see here today. So you have different plants growing in different places because either the sun is there for longer or it's not, and it's also providing the perfect climates for different kinds of plants. So if you go to Florida, you're going to find different plants that want the warm weather all year round, whereas if you go north, you're going to start getting into colder weather where it snows a lot, or where it might hail or storm a lot. And that's all because of how the sun is heating the Earth. As well, when the sun heats the Earth, it causes a lot of wind, and that's how we get most of our currents. So the sun, the moon work together, create the currents and the tides in our water, and they help move all the water around our globe. So
Really awesome concept.
yeah, so if we didn't have our sun, a lot of the things that we know of today just would not be here. We would not have rain or snow, which you couldn't build a snowman, so that's kind of sad. And we wouldn't have our water moving around our oceans too.
That
So
might be a little weird.
Yeah, it
go
would
out
be
and not see any waves.
weird. Exactly. Yeah, very weird. So our sun is really important for all of that as well.
Yeah, and then we get a little bit of vitamin D from our sun too. But it is very important to wear sunscreen because we get a little bit of vitamin D from those UV rays. But we also could get stuff like cancer or something else if we get exposed to too much sunlight. So it's always important to wear when you're going out to get that sunscreen, and nobody wants a sunburn anyway, so that's never fun. And then we can get solar energy from the sun as well. So you can get some solar panels, and basically it's like plants, how they get photosynthesis is how we get that solar energy. It heats up the solar panels, and then they basically cause a reaction so that we can get that. And we'll put some more resources too if you guys are interested with that.
Yeah. So basically our solar energy is awesome too because it can power some of the things in our house, and
We can get it from the sun. Yeah, we don't need to really do anything.
Exactly. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna let you at home do the activity that we had for you this week. So I know Rachel kind of mentioned it before. If you want to just reiterate what we're doing at home this week.
Yeah, so we guys are going to provide you with a story that talks about the creation of the sun. And you're going to give you guys some cutouts that you guys can do. You can color them, put them on popsicle sticks, maybe put them on like a paper plate or something. But when you guys are reading the story, you guys can act it out through kind of a little play version of what you guys are going to be reading. So it's going to be super fun. You guys can color however you guys want to do it. Do it, just make it your own kind of thing. And you guys can post pictures of you guys doing it maybe, or however you want to do it.
If you want to record a video of you all doing it, you can post it, share it with us. We love to see what you all are doing at home with these videos, and we love to see how we might be helping other people learn a little bit more about the nature that we see all around us every day. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you soon for our episode 3.
Bye, guys.
And have a good one.
Yeah,
Until
bye.
next time.
See you guys next time.